Hello, I am Pinky Ngcakani-Ncula, the founder of Stwewardship movement. I'm so excited today to be hosting one of our speakers who will be instrumental on the 17th of June when we are hosting our youth prayer event. She's none other than Ziyanda Mavumengwana, a magnificent psychologist of Port Elizabeth in our midst. Ziyanda, welcome to this interview.
Thank you for the invite.
We're doing this so that we can prepare the audience or our PECT as to who is going to be speaking to them. They want to see your face, they want to know you more. So who is Ziyanda?
Ziyanda is a 27-year-old, originally born in the Transkei. I'm from Tsomo, that's where I grew up. I later went to school in Queenstown and moved to Port Elizabeth for varsity, and that's where I've been from tertiary studies up until now. I'm a clinical psychologist by profession, as you have already said. I used to work for State for a few years. I was in psychiatry. Then I recently moved to my own private practice in February. I'm loving it. I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm a mom of one. I have a 9-year-old beautiful girl. I'm unmarried. Pretty much that's a summary of who Ziyanda is.
I think the reason I particularly want you to come and address the audience, our children, is because you also had the unfortunate event of conceiving during your matric year.
First year.
The first year. Tell us, what does it feel to be a teenage mother or to be pregnant around those years?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, in retrospect, I say don't do it. But if you ask me when I was 17 when I was pregnant. I couldn't really be bothered. At the mind of a 17-year-old, this is a permanent tie to your romantic partner, which is what is very exciting when you're 17. We're going to be together forever. There is no other way to achieve a forever than a human being. So this is good news. You're just scared of your parents, but you are low-key very excited because now this means we can never be separated. And whoever opposes that is just against your joy, you know?
Like
my parents, if they didn't want me to be in a lifestyle that could result in pregnancy, I thought these people surely don't love me. You know, people that genuinely love me would see how happy I am. This one is just sent to cause misery.
Wow.
To my life.
Wow.
And then the consequences typically come later.
When you're more mature.
When you are more mature and you realize there's a couple of options you don't have that are available to you.
We're going to talk about that just shortly.
Yeah.
But so you planned the pregnancy?
I didn't avoid the pregnancy. I wasn't planning it. It's just sort of flirted with the idea that if I fall pregnant and then, okay, I'm not pregnant. So I wasn't looking for a baby, but I certainly didn't go out of my way to avoid having one.
And how long had you known this person before you conceived for them?
A couple of months. So what was the journey? What has the journey been like from the time you conceived up until now? Because you've changed your hearts about conceiving early. Certainly. I also spent a lot of time away from my daughter because I was at school. My parents were kind enough to allow me to go back to school. So basically they did the parenting for me. And this is when you start to realize that, okay, but it's not just about creating a human together and it's a permanent tie. There's a lot that goes into raising a child and you can't actually do it. And at 18, my concerns aren't about the baby. They're about my bodily changes. Am I going to look different? Will I lose the cleavage? You know.
And the boyfriend?
And the boyfriend.
Where was he?
He was there. He was incredibly supportive for an 18-year-old. He was 18 and I was 17. But he also had to go back to school. So we had no say much in the baby because we can't feed the baby. We can't nothing the baby. We continue to date, and to me that's why I'm excited about the youth prayer event, because I do know that a large part of rebellion against what scripture says isn't so much about going against it. The largest rebellion is from the people that don't think the message is for them. I'm happy, my relationship is good, my partner's supportive, and we're going to get married. So you think, delayed grace. Ultimately,
Wow. So are you going to get married? Are you?
No, that is not an option. We're not going to. But at that time, I wasn't guilty. Even at church, you sort of think they're not talking to me. They're talking to other people. It looked like a marriage and it felt like one. So I felt excused from a lot of the messages that were speaking to me. So I was very deaf to that. I didn't count myself as the audience for that.
Sure. But how would you encourage somebody else who is going through the same thing? who's pregnant, say in high school or even in tertiary, and they're not married, and they feel like the biological clock is so against them, and they want to keep this man. They want to marry this man even with a child out of wedlock.
Sure. What I've noticed from people that had children much later than I did is that the joys of motherhood don't disappear. It doesn't matter when you have the baby, it's still going to be a wonderful experience. The consequences, however, are such a big difference. The joys, because I think we look happy on social media with our children. We look like yummy mummies. We just look like mom goals. It's not that. Career takes off and demands of motherhood take off. You always sort of have to balance or forfeit one for the other. If I'm going to get married, already there's a certain tone for my marital union now that has been set because I have a child with someone else that isn't going to be my spouse. If me and that person wanted to have one child, that's not an option because that person presumably doesn't have a child and I have a child. So we can't say in our union we're going to have one child. There's options that are just simply not available for you.
Yeah.
The freedom to not have the child is also not there now. The child is here now. So your decisions change drastically. But what I would say to someone that is already expecting or has a child already or contemplating termination or whatever, and I'm going to speak about it at the event, is how corroding shame can be. You know, when you're ashamed of the decision you've made and you think you're not worth asking for pardon because you got yourself into this. You know, this is your mess. Everybody told you no. You went ahead and did it. And that shame places you at the very same position to fall pregnant again or out of restoration completely. And if I could speak to them about that and what shame looks like, and what God says about shame and restoration and redemption and how complete it can look if you seek it from the right place. Because we mistake it. We think a forgiving man is the answer. You know, if I find someone who's understanding to accommodate my child, that's just another mess, a new mess that you're creating. And I want to speak to them about that, how you can hand it back to the person that was supposed to do it in the first place. And I want to talk about delayed grace, because I was a victim of that, thinking this God seems to be very forgiving. So if I can ask for forgiveness when I'm 50, why would I bother with righteousness at 17? You know, and I know people have those questions that it looks like whoever here can just say, I'm sorry to God, and we're all equal. So why shall I begin now if I can just, after 5 kids and after 5 mistakes?
Yes, I mean, he can forgive you 7 times.
You know, and I know they don't know the answers to that, and I want to bring them the answers to that, and the myths around kindness and benevolence and God's grace and what we're getting wrong about it,
and how
the delay
and how the church also contributes in continuing the shame and dragging the shame on board.
Yeah, and that's very corroding. Shame is a different kind of emotion. It's one that renders you completely incapable of changing.
I can't wait for this.
Me too.
I really can't wait for this. I know Ziyanda, she is such a marvelous speaker. She speaks from the heart, she speaks outside of the box. I know she's going to challenge our beliefs, even our own beliefs, but I'm so excited because healing is on the way. Thank you so much, Ziyanda. Really appreciate what you're doing for us. God bless you, sis. And Mr. Charming is coming soon.
Oh.
Upe is coming soon.
I am waiting in obedience and anticipation.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you.
So there we go. 17th of June, the Fair the Market Hall from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. See you soon.